Alright, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one. Xfce has just released a new version after waiting 2 years. Was it well worth the wait? You'll find out right now on Spatry's Cup of Linux. Okay, let's begin. Xfce was well worth the wait. And for those of you who are running Manjaro Linux, you already have these latest features, even though you may not see 4.12 in the version number. Instead, you'll see like maybe 4.11.3-Git. This is because the Manjaro development team is continuously grabbing the latest Git releases. They're building them, checking them for stability, and pushing them upstream. So you have all the latest features that are available in 4.12, even though it may not actually say that. Probably by the next time the stable branch gets its service packs, we're probably going to be seeing 4.12 in the very, very near future. But the thing is, I compared the Xfce release notes with what we're running right now, and I confirmed that we have all of the latest updates. And I'm telling you what, kids, this is exciting stuff. Alright, so let's begin with, first, I need to put my eyeballs on here. And let's open up our home directory. And you will see that we are running Thunar. Okay? And Thunar now has the ability to open up multiple tabs. So you right click on a folder and select open a new tab. Tab browsing is now available with this. My only wish is that Thunar would have search incorporated into it. It is not available just yet. If you're searching for files in Xfce, you will need to use Catfish, or you can install an alternative file manager like Nemo that has the search built into it. And that is the nice thing about Xfce. It is versatile. You can run KDE applications with it. You can use you can use file managers from just about any desktop, and you can integrate it into the system. And we'll get into that later. I'll show you that trick in a few moments here. Let me talk about window snapping, because I've had some people talk about that on the Cup of Linux forums. Window snapping has been improved. You'll notice that I can move a window to the corner, or I can move it to the edge. Did you just notice that panel disappeared? It also has intelligent hiding of panels as well. But I like the snapping feature. It's really cool. But if you're like me and you don't use window borders at all, the snapping isn't going to work. So you need to have the window borders. But personally, I don't like window borders, and I really don't snap things. I manually tile all of my windows on my system. I like the IntelliHide feature because this is cool. For those of you who are like me, you like to play games and whine, and sometimes they'll open up and that panel is showing on the top of the screen. By having the IntelliHide enabled, it'll hide that panel and your full screen applications work just fine. There was a bug, and it's still present in my installation, but I noticed I wasn't able to duplicate this on screen when I filmed a version of this earlier. I wanted to try and capture that so I could display it, but I wasn't able to duplicate it today, so for some reason it's making a liar out of me. But I noticed sometimes when navigating directories rapidly in Thunar, sometimes it'll close, it'll just crash. It'll just close, so I have to reopen Thunar again and navigate and go back to where I was. Not a major annoyance. It doesn't happen very often, but every now and then it does happen. So I figured I'd mention that. Okay, let's get into some of the other really cool things that you can do with this. Alright, we'll go into the desktop settings by right-clicking on the desktop settings here. Okay, they reworked this now. Now you can point to a directory that has images that you want, and it will display them. So if you go to folder here and then select other and then navigate to where you have your family photos or any kind of photos that you have, it will display all of them there as you see here. And you can decide how you want them to be displayed, such as centered, tiled, stretched, scaled, or zoomed. Alright, if you don't want a background, you can choose whether you want transparent, solid color, gradients, and that sort of thing. Let me put this back to where we had it. There we go. Right? You can choose how your menus display. And pretty much we've had that feature all along. You can determine whether or not on a right click on the desktop if you want to have access to all of your applications or not. And then you can define how you want your icons or none at all. You can have them displayed really large, really small, or get rid of them entirely. Personally, I don't like icons on the desktop, so we will 86 those. Alright, something else that's new. Lots of Xfce goodies with the inclusion of the Whisker menus. So now it is part of the Xfce goodies package. So now you have a nicer menu, and you'll only get it on Xfce. To my knowledge, it hasn't been ported to anything else, and I think the developer wanted to make this just for Xfce and nothing else. So it's cool, we got a really great menu on here. Additionally, let's look at some theming, because they reworked that as well. We'll go into settings here. The settings manager is really nice. They have everything categorized for you. You can configure everything with the system super easily. And I recommend Xfce for those of you who are transitioning over from Windows over to the Linux operating system or any other OS, because, I mean, Xfce is super easy to customize. We'll go into the appearance settings here. They made some changes. You're going to notice they have 3 colors. There's white, black, and then blue. That's using the standard clear looks. My favorite theme is Blue Fear. And that's a theme that I use on MCOL. And it gives you a nice representation of what it is you're seeing. In your icons, I like how they rework this as well, because this is giving you a graphical representation of what the icons will look like on your panel. And that sort of thing. I really like how this looks. It's really slick the way they designed this. You can manage your fonts, and then of course any additional settings such as your toolbar styles, showing images on buttons and that sort of thing. All of the customizations, you can tweak this to your heart's content. Very nice indeed. Let's open up a few windows here. For instance, the display manager has been reworked. Now unfortunately I can't show this to you, but when you actually plug in a television through the HDMI port into your computer, a dialog pops up with graphical representations that that asks you what do you want to do. Do you want to just extend your desktop on multiple monitors and that sort of thing? You can do that. So a nice dialog pops up. My only beef with this is it pops up whenever I have a wine program that I'm running an old game in full screen mode and it switches to 640 by 480. The display manager likes to pop up, and that's kind of annoying. I hope they eventually fix that. Just a minor annoyance, though. I can switch back to the application and it's not interfering with my using it, but the display pop-up does come up, and I haven't been able to figure out a way to prevent it from doing that just yet. If one of you guys have a tip on how to do that, let me know on the forum. There'll be a link in the description below. But I like how they reworked this. This was very beautiful. I saw this several months ago when they brought this feature. Rolling your mouse wheel anywhere on an empty portion of your screen allows you to switch your desktop, and you now have that option to have a different wallpaper on each desktop, which is really cool. just in case I didn't mention that before. How you would do that is you go into your desktop settings and you make sure that there is not a check mark under Apply to All Workspaces. And then you can set a wallpaper for each desktop individually. Alright, let's look at the power settings. That's another important feature that has been worked on, and I put an icon on my panel for it. In the power management settings, this is where you can get that extra bit of battery life that you need for your laptop. You can define what happens when the power button is pressed, if you have a sleep button, what it does. These are all the default settings. I haven't changed or messed with anything. You can handle the display brightness, what to do when the laptop when the laptop lid is closed, when it's on battery, or when it's plugged in. You can also have it show notifications for appearance, and that's I actually have the little pop-up notification program uninstalled because I don't like those little notifications that pop up, but some people do. I can't remember the name of the application off the top of my head. Your system power setting is located here in the System tab. What to do on battery or plugged in for sleeping or when inactive, critical power warnings. You can define how your display is managed when it's on the battery or when it's plugged in. And then, of course, individual device settings such as plugged in, or if you have a lithium-ion battery like I have, it gives you information on that as well. Also, the power management, or I'm sorry, the task manager has also been reworked. It has a larger display now, and it supports GTK3 theming. And while I'm talking about GTK3, the system isn't 100% GTK3 yet. But according to what I've gleaned from the documentation on the Xfce website, they are suggesting to people who are making Xfce themes to eventually start writing out your themes in CS3 or CSS, I'm sorry, because I'm guessing that eventually it will go 100% GTK3, and I imagine once it's all GTK3, I could probably surmise that it'll have Wayland support as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think GTK3 has Wayland support, and that will put Xfce in Wayland support. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. I could be wrong there. So, at any rate, they have tweaked the task manager here. You have a number of settings here with changing how the interface appears. So if you want to show processes as a tree, you can do that in the settings. You can also have more precise displaying of settings. So you have lots of options there. You can have default, you can have just text, maybe small icons in there. It's kind of neat. I like how they reworked that. Let's have a look at some of the widgets here. Now, one thing the documentation mentioned is that the panel now supports both GTK2 and GTK3 widgets. Now, what you're going to be seeing here under items, if I press the plus button here, all right, you're going to notice there are a lot of them, but that's if you have the Xfce goodies. Now, I imagine over time we're going to start seeing a lot more widgets being included in this. And I know a number of you have said, hey Spat, how come you don't use Conky on your system? Well, that's because they have a widget for just about everything. So I can have all of my notifications in the upper right corner of the screen here. And, I mean, there are tons of things that they have loaded in here. You know, if I want to check the weather, I could have a weather icon there. Really, I don't. All I have to do, I live in Florida, so I don't really have to worry about, you know, I look out the window and see what the weather's like, hey? What do I need a weather report thing? It's hot year-round here, so I don't need a weather icon on my panel, but but you'll notice, you know, I got the CPU bars, I got the power manager, I got the time, you know, I've got a few other little things on here, so pretty much, you know, this is cool. So, I mean, pretty much you can have sensors, you can have a screenshot button for taking the screenshots and that sort of thing. So that's really cool. So, I mean, there are literally tons and tons and tons of widgets that you can add to your panel. You could even create a, you know, take out all these icons out of your dock and you could put all this stuff down in here. So, I mean, the sky's the limit with this. Now, something of the documentation didn't state, maybe they covered it in the past. Instead of having to install Yakwake or Guwake or anything like that, you know, the Xfce4 terminal drops down, and that also has tabs. Didn't click in the correct space here. I've got also Mixer open up in one tab, and then, of course, on the other tab, I have the terminal. So, I mean, it supports multiple tabs there, and the way you do this is you can just add a launcher to your panel, and then you can configure that by going into Properties. With that item, you can select the pencil here, all right, and it's Xfce4-terminal hyphen drop down. Hyphen drop hyphen down. And that'll make a drop-down terminal. So it's already built in. And guess what? Let's say you want to have a bunch of things in there. Well, watch this little trick. Maybe with the terminal, I want another system item in here. So let's go into settings. Maybe I want the AMD Catalyst Control Center in there. I want to have, what else? Maybe another settings item here. Maybe I want the Compiz config settings here. Okay, well, you'll notice now there is a drop down here because some of you asked me for this. How do you do this? Do you get multiple things? Just by dragging items into the listing here, you can actually make drop downs just by dragging items in here. Maybe if I want to put Abbey Word in here too, I can do that. And then now I've got a drop down list with all these items in here, which is pretty darn cool. So, I mean, you know, you could have multiple menus if you want, and I have that on my main desktop where I've got a drop-down menu for all my desktop publishing and multimedia applications, a Whisker menu for, you know, accessing regularly used applications. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless with this. You can do so much with it. And I know I probably missed something. Yes, I did. Okay, let's go ahead and open up something here. And maybe open up the web browser as well. Okay, this is the Xfce 4.12 tour. Alright, Alt-tabbing. We Alt-tab, look at that. Now you have a way to switch the way this appears if you want. If you want to have small icons, or you can have a list, or you can have the big icons with the screenshots. That's easily done by going into your compositor settings. So just go into settings here. We'll go into our window manager tweaks. Okay, and then under the compositor, show window previews in place of icons when cycling. Uncheck that. We'll Alt-tab now. See how that's changed? And it matches your GTK theme too, which is really cool. Gotta love it. GTK3 apps with their decorations are drawn by the client. So for instance, if you use the file roller like I do, it has its own GTK window theming. So there is partial GTK3 support, as I mentioned earlier. And let me quickly run through this, see if there's anything else I missed, because I'm pretty sure I covered everything in here. Cover the Power Manager. I already talked about... oh, this is something else that's cool. We talked about opening up a new tab. Okay, it does that. You can also right-click on a folder, and then when you go into Properties on that folder, it tells you how much free drive space graphically. Cool deal. I've been wanting something like that for a long time. I've seen other file managers that show you a pie chart. In this case, it gives you a bar. That's perfectly fine. I've been wanting to see something like that for a long time, so it's good that they included that as well. Let me scroll through here. Anything else that I missed? Pretty sure I covered all of it. Okay, Parole is the default media player for Xfce. Personally, I don't use it. I use Unplayer, so I do not have that component installed in my system. So I haven't been able to actually have a look at it, but it does look promising. It's got, it's got a clean user interface, and it has its own playlist and that sort of thing. But personally, don't use that. And then, of course, Mousepad had a little bit of reworking as well. Now there's new preferences included with that as well. I use a different text editor. I use Sublime. So, because that pretty much, I like its syntax highlighting and that sort of thing. So, very, very nice indeed. And I like the fact that the different desktops, the compositor is beautiful. But why do I choose Xfce? Because it is so user-friendly and it behaves so nicely with other applications. So, for instance, let's say... yeah, Thunar doesn't have the built-in search, or you just want to use a different file manager. I have a lot of people tell me to use SpaceFM or PCManFM. Well, let's go into our settings. Let me show you how friendly this is with other window managers. If you go into your preferred applications right here, okay, and you'll notice on the menu, your terminal emulator, your file manager, your mail reader, if you have one installed, and then your web browser. From here, you could choose which one you want. What those buttons will launch. So, if you want Midori, or you want Iceweasel, or Chrome, or whatever else you have installed, you can pick out which one you want. Okay, you can choose which mail reader. I don't have a mail reader installed because everything is web-based on my system. I use my browser for that. Okay, so for my file manager, I've got both Thunar and PCManFM. And then, of course, my terminal emulator is the Xfce terminal. I put a button here that I could just quickly click that and have access to it as a drop-down. But you could have any one that you want. And it's friendly. So if you decided you wanted to use Nemo, you could use Nemo with this. It's very, very friendly indeed. So it works beautifully with other, so you can use components from KDE. Because that's how I've actually run Xfce in the past. I used to run, I used to jokingly call it KFCE. I was using KDE applications with Xfce. And the interoperability was absolutely beautiful. I loved it. So Xfce is very versatile. And I highly recommend it to anybody who is coming over from the Mac or Windows side of things, because you can configure this to work and behave exactly how you want it. So at the end of the day, I want to say to the Xfce team, awesome work. I can't wait to see what you guys do next with it. Xfce is my desktop of choice, and I absolutely love it. I would love to see search being added to Thunar. I think that would really round this out and make it even better. There, I did mention the display manager popping up. When a program changes the screen display, that pops up. I'd love to know a way to shut that off, because I have a display manager icon on my panel. If it changes my, screen resolution, I don't really want that to pop up and annoy me. So if somebody knows a way to fix that, let me know. And then, of course, the occasional crash when I'm rapidly moving around through directories in Thunar. Sometimes it'll just close on me. I have to reopen it and then go back to where I was and what I was doing. But other than those two little things, I can't think of a better desktop. I love it. It's not that heavy on resources, so this will work on legacy hardware. Well, that's all I have on Xfce 4.12. I highly recommend you check that out. And as a reminder, all of the great things that happen with Cup of Linux happens at cupoflinux.com. If you haven't signed up, I highly recommend that you do so. It's a great place to interact with others and to learn Linux. If you already know a lot about Linux and you want to share your knowledge with others, it's a great place to come in and interact. We have a social networking system with live chat, and we also have a Mumble voice chat server as well. You can join us on the weekends. We have Cup of Linux game night, and we've been having some really good game nights lately. We've just dropped 0 AD, and we've switched that to Open RA or Open Red Alert. That doesn't seem to have as much lag. So from 8 till 8:45 New York time on Saturday nights, it's Star Conflict Invasion, and then we'll be playing Open Red Alert from 8:45 until we're tired of playing. You can also join us Sunday nights if you want to catch the Sunday night news and nonsense report. That also happens at 8 p.m. New York time. So there's a lot of great activities. I'll see you there at cupoflinux.com, and catch me later this week. Hopefully, I'm hoping to crank out the Compiz Confusion series, and because I had to take down a bunch of Compiz videos. And so I'm going to be redoing those videos for you guys, and we're going to be doing that for all of you who are running Manjaro and derivatives who want to be able to get a lot out of Compiz. So all of that is coming up soon. We'll see you later.